Do, do, do. Hey there! How's it going? Just getting everything set up here. Sending out messages and things like that. And, yeah. Do, 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 do. Oh, just getting things set up. I gotta mute myself for a second here while I move my mic because I've got to do that. Do, do, do. Oops, 1 second. Remember to have your mic on when you're wanting to talk to people. Let us stop this recording real quick and stop you. And let's just start the recording from the top. Right. 3, 2, 1. Alright, we are recording now. And hey everyone, got everything set up and ready to go. Got my tea. Might need more tea before the stream is done. Tonight, what we're going to be doing is I have my cube here, and I thought I'd just kind of just a general hangout stream, all and stuff. And why did I grab the lands draft? This is the lands draft? Yeah, that's the lands draft. Okay, I think I might have grabbed the wrong one, but that's no problem. And then in about an hour, we're going to start continuing our reading of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is going to be nice and exciting. So, yeah. Alright, let me see if there's one of these boxes. Here we are. Oh. Okay. It's a big cube. Also, I'm kind of warm. And also, I'm not wearing my necklace that I always wear. I am very prepared, if you can't tell. But yeah, so that is not how you put on a necklace. I'm good at this. I'm well together. Alright, there we go. Alright, so this is my cube. I just have it in BCW boxes because I'm lazy. Let's just start small. Yeah. Let's just start small. It's just, since drafting this last, I haven't shuffled it yet. So I'm going to use doing this live to do some shuffling. Also, Lands Draft was recently expanded, so there are some new things to shuffle into it. So this box is the Land Draft, which I guess I can also talk about the cube itself if you haven't watched my introduction to my cube video. But this is all the tales and poems, and this box also contains the Lands Draft, is up here. Where for this cube, after you draft the main portion of the cube, which is 7 packs, because you're building a 100-card deck at the end of this cube, you also do 2 packs of the lands draft, which is just all lands that you're fixing, as well as utility lands and things like that. Hey there, the Endless Wanderer. How's it going? Bam. But this is the lands draft, which is the only part of the draft that I have any proxies in, mostly just because I can't afford a full set of original duels because I'm not made of money. But yeah, we're just gonna take it nice and easy. Let me know how audio levels are, if you need me to be a bit quieter or louder, or just let me know. I am wondering if I want to move the mic to be more above me in this one, because I don't really need to be really close to this mic, at least not for this. And having a bit of my desk would be a bit nicer. No, I'm glad. Yeah, I kind of wish I could do this stream a little bit earlier in the evening, just because I know, it's good for, West Coast people, but, for, East Coast, I know it's not ideal timing, but, we'll figure it out. Okay, so yeah, I'm actually going to... Do I just want to move it back to the original location? Probably. Moving. It's very loud if I do. Oops, sorry. More interested in the decks. Well, this is not a deck itself. It's actually, this is my cube. This is my commander cube. If you want a more in-depth explanation of it, I have a website put together which does a cube. I've also done a video on it, but if you want to read more about the cube itself, it's right there. But this is the lands draft. So this is essentially the second part of the draft after you draft your deck, where you get all of your like fixing lands. I have lots of bad proxies, which I keep meaning to go to the library and like print out like nicer versions of like some of these proxies. What I've done is I've gone into Magic Set Editor and essentially made blank art versions of things, so they're just like all white art, and I'm gonna print them out and put them like you do normally in proxies. But having the blank art there, so if people are bored in the middle of a draft or like playing and stuff, they can like I have like colored pencils which I take with the cube that they can words, I mean things. It's they can color on like color in the proxies and stuff while waiting for like the person across the table to combo off. I know very little about Magic and have been for like many years. I just want to watch someone that is passionate about something. Yeah, no, totally. Like honestly, my favorite kind of ASMR is just listening to someone. It doesn't even have to be soft-spoken, but just someone who is just really passionate about what they're doing and what they're knowing about, and just kind of talking about it and hearing that passion and the interest in their voice. That's really what does it for me. What was it? For the longest time, it was the before I discovered like the ASMR community, I'd identified some videos that had done it, the effect. It was kind of just like some unintentional ASMR. But it was A Way of Flowing Times dev diaries for the Magic mod, the Minecraft mod Blood Magic. I don't know, his voice is honestly objectively kind of grating and stuff, but it did it for me. Like I got the serious ASMR. This Stomping Grounds is so beat up. It's I got it a while ago. It's a gate crash one, but it's kind of chewed up. I mean, I got it for like a discount on the trade that I traded it for, but yeah, it's not in the best condition, which honestly makes sense for like the Gruul land. Come on, get back in there. Cool. The entire cube is completely double sleeved. It took me forever to get it done. So what do people think about the new announcements today with 36 new planeswalkers in the new set and a planeswalker in every single pack? It's gonna be interesting how they do this, because it's a very interesting, because like they've repeatedly said like how limiting planeswalker words, I mean things, how limiting planeswalker design space was. But it's interesting that they're doing this here. Oh, limited is the best. I love limited so much. Also, it's like drafting is my favorite format. Well, okay, to be fair, Commander Cube is my favorite format. But like of like the mainstream formats, it's definitely drafting. Yeah, and Tybalt, and I like is it, I don't remember his name. I remember the dog, but Mo and whoever the planeswalker with Mo is. Yeah, like I think having lower rarity planeswalkers will definitely help push like, because it's like you don't have to put them as high of a power level if they're like at that, where it's like it was restricted by the fact that like where are you? You wanted your planeswalkers to be super flashy and stuff. Jing. That's one of his planeswalker abilities, is that he can actually take mode with him. It's one of the unique things about him. Kind of like how also like Rowan and Kenrith share a spark. Yeah. Yeah, no, they share the same spark. Fun fact. I really love this land. It's Poliano, the High City. It's really neat land where it's one of the conspiracy lands. And I love conspiracy, both conspiracy sets. There's so many cool things in them. But this one is a legendary land, which is it enters battlefield untapped. But reveal it as you are drafting it. The player to your right chooses a color, then you choose another color, and then your player to the left chooses a third color. And it can tap for any of those colors. So, like, ideally, like, it'll tap for one of your colors, and hopefully one of the people around you, like, gets of others, and at which point it's just a dual lane that enters in untapped. But my cube is also, like, kind of focusing on, 3 and 4 color decks. So if you have a 4 color deck, it isn't unlikely that you will, be able to just play, it'll just get all 3 and it'll be an untapped tri-land, which will be very cool. Yeah, I need to print out my nicer proxies, because some of these proxies I just did not spend that much effort on making. I just went to like the Magic Proxy Maker that just grabs like the images from what's that called? Scribble. Do you have your Commander Cube on Cube Tutor? Yes, I do. Let me go grab the Cube Tutor link for you real quick. There you are. And there is that. And if you want the lands draft, this is the lands draft, which is a separate Cube Tutor. And part of that is also, like, I linked the there's a full website, which I'll link again. I might as well just keep linking it. I have a whole website talking about how it works and everything, because part of it is this thing called Tales and Poems, which is honestly kind of like the key hallmark of my cube. Is one thing that Commander Cube doesn't encapsulate is that it really does not do well with tribal and things like that. Oh, I've never actually played Slivers. I started in Shadows of Innistrad, and just Slivers haven't returned since, so I haven't really experienced Slivers. Okay, I've experienced Slivers. I've played against Slivers in a few Commander games. But Slivers you don't see them a lot because people are rightfully scared of Slivers because Slivers will just run away with the board. Tales and Poems. But one thing that Commander Cube is a great format, but one thing it doesn't do well is a big part of the Commander format, which is like Slivers, tribal decks. Because to make tribal work in a draft format, you really have to have critical mass of that tribe. Like, some tribes you want to make it like humans, elves, things like that, where it's like, yeah, you might make critical mass, but it's really awkward. And honestly, it's more effort than it's worth. Same thing goes for any sort of parasitic mechanic. Like, you can never have energy in a Commander Cube unless it's like a good standalone card or something. But essentially, my cube has something called Tales and Poems. A tale is a pre-bundled package of cards. So you might have, say, I actually have my Tales and Poems right here. Is this one? Yeah, it is. This is the tale, Llanowar and Peace, which is, which will give you, like, it gives you a couple elf tribal lords and a bunch of elves to not build you a full elf deck, but will give you, like, a good start of an elf deck, where it's like, you may not end up being full on elves in your deck, because you just might not get there, but it'll definitely give you the pieces for an elf tribal theme within your deck. And there's lots of things, also like merfolk and like a lot of the major tribes, but also things like energy or coin flipping or things like that, where it's like these tight themes that make really cool commander decks but just don't work in a normal thing. But essentially you get these Tales of Mom cards, which I have in another box, which I'll show off when I do that. And once you Tales and Poems, when you get one in the draft, you can, when you draft it, you can say you draft it face up if you want to. You can draft it face down, and it just essentially just does nothing. If you just want to like hate draft it, like I really don't want to play against vampires, I'm just gonna hate draft the vampires, but I don't want to play it because when you reveal it, each one of them lists the costs, which is either a number or full. If it's a number, say it's like 5, like the tail was like 5. You skip your next 5 picks. For the next 5 cards the packs get, you take a card at random just so the packs stay the same size. You put it aside, and that is not added to your pool. So you get 5 less cards at the end, but you get this synergistic pool. And at a base rate, you get about 1 to 1. Like if the tail is like 10 cards, typically the cost will be 9 because you took 1 pick to draft the tail itself, and then you lose 9 cards. If it says full on the cost, that just means you sit out for the rest of the current pack. Also, if the number is higher than the number of picks left, you just stop until the end of the pack. It resets at the end of any pack, just so, because it's like missing a pack 1 from a pick is so much worse than like missing like your packs like 10 through 14, if that makes sense. So yeah. And then poems are the same thing, but they're usually smaller. They're usually just 1 or 2 cards. Like, say, like there's a poem for like Krav and Regna, so you get both partner commanders at the same time. Just cards that make sense to be drafted together. Other things might be like one thing I don't have yet, but it's like eventually want to have a poem that's like the 3 parts of Cauldra, or the Empire set from M12, which is like the Scepter, Throne, and Crown of Empires, that have these synergistic things. So poems are essentially work exactly the same, but they're smaller. Yeah, and that's Tales and Poems, and that's kind of like the main, I think, one of like the main defining features of my cube. And then the other one is, the other main feature is essentially, because I want to encourage to be in 4 card color. Alright, sorry, Sia, thanks for dropping by. It's good to see ya. Why is Stomping Grounds always on the top? I've been shuffling this for ages, and Stomping Grounds keeps coming to the top. Yeah, Handmore Garrison Battlements is one of the poems. Yeah, this cube has a few custom cards in it. It's mostly just some conspiracies. There's 4 conspiracies. One is who died and made you queen, which it doesn't do anything unique, but essentially it just means you start the game as the monarch, because I love the monarch mechanic, and it's just another source of the monarchy, and I kind of like the idea of the monarchy being there from the front, the start. Then there is Justice Spark, which if you draft it, you get to choose if you if the game is played using the Plane Chase supplement. My Plane Chase is over there. I don't have it with me because Plane Chase is rad. Also, it gives you the ability for once during the game, you can, when you would roll a planar die, choose what side it lands on. So normally you choose either Chaos or Planeswalk. So it just gives you that little bit of upside and incentive, being like, besides just like, yes. Because from my experience so far, it's like, if anyone's like just drafted that card, they're like, yes, I want to play with Plane Chase, because Plane Chase is awesome. And by that logic, why would I ever take this? Because whoever's gonna get it is just gonna say, yes, Planespace is awesome. So it just gives you a little bit of a leg up, if that makes sense. So Plane Chase, that, words mean things. Okay, so that's just a spark. There is Set Course for the Golden City, which is the same thing, but with the Explorers of Ixalan supplement, where, and that one gives you the benefit of, before the game you get to look at 2 tiles. Hey there, Midnight Games, how's it going? 2 tiles before the game starts, you get a little bit of a peek at what is to come for on the board of Explorers of Ixalan. Explorers of Ixalan's a lot of fun. I think it flew under the radar of a lot of people, but you forget the chance to check it out, or if like you see it on sale on Amazon. I was able to snag it on sale on Amazon for like $25, which is like $25 like pays for like the aggravated assault and time warp in that. Yeah, no, it's really cool. And then the final custom conspiracy, which is Machinations Come to Light, which just is a conspiracy which says, you are the archenemy, where you could choose to be the archenemy. Archway used to play a game of archenemy where you are the person with the scheme deck and starts at double life, and everyone else is on a team against you. That one is a bit more of a choice, where it's like, do I really want to be the archenemy? Okay, I'll pass that. It doesn't have any additional benefits because it's already a kind of a symmetrical one. Uh-oh. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying my Hobbit readings. I'm kind of sad that it's almost over. Just one chapter to go. I've officially decided you're a magic wizard. So much fun information. No, I'm not a wizard. I'm just a giant nerd. Recently picked up a bunch of new just utility lands to fill out the lands draft. Primarily because I wanted to expand the lands draft to accommodate up to an 8-person draft. Because up until now, I've just had it as like you could have 4-person drafts, because essentially you would go into a pot of 4. But I have a group that might need up to 8 people. So 8-person draft, and the lands draft was the thing holding apart. The main draft, though, has had enough for 8 people for a long time. Oh. Yeah. Oh yes, the best land in the game. The best land to pack one, pick one. Okay, there might be better choices, but Command Tower. You gotta take Command Tower. Were you ever reading the King Kriller Chronicles? I've never actually read this personally. But maybe. Hey there, how's it going? Thing is, I'm moving away from, words, I mean things. I'm moving away from doing full readings on the channel itself for proper things. And I'm sticking to the more of the kind of reading full books to this, Lily's Library Live, which we're going to be continuing our reading of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in about 30 minutes. So, yeah. Ooh, Command Tower. No. Anything else cool in here? Radiant Fountain. I love all the new balance lands of the actual like proper like set symbol from like the guild kits, because I got the rest of the guild kits. Or Dagmar's Island, Crumbling Necropolis. I love the Explorers of Ixalan art of like Crumbling Necropolis, and also the Naya one. Also, I don't know. I've always considered like geeks are the ones who are like the super knowledgeable. I guess like geek, I kind of like more. I think I associate geek with like a lot of like kind of like tech savviness and things like that. Alrighty. Sounds good. Well, I hope you have a wonderful night. Nice proxied fetch land, because fetch lands are just so expensive, especially the enemy color ones. Like, the other color ones, like, yeah, they're fine. it's alright. But it's like the enemy colored fetch lands are just like, no. No. I don't want to pay that much for whatchamacallit, what's the word? Like a Scalding Tarn or Ning. Yeah, no, like Misty is just dumb. It's just like, no. I've never actually like had anyone play this or actually like see how it goes, but Watermark it I think is really interesting. Where it doesn't have for anything else, but it can tap for 2 colorless, but only for cast spells with watermarks. I really love Commander Cube because it's like, it's the perfect place to put silver border stuff. My Proxy Celestial Colonnade, because I'm not dropping like $50 on a Colonnade, but I want the cycle in there still. I don't actually think, I don't know if the Colonnade's still that expensive after Ultimate Masters though. This one I was surprised I hadn't gotten yet, but Grim Backwoods. It's one of the Golgari lands from the Innistrad cycle, but essentially that just lets you sack creatures to draw cards, which is something that a lot of decks like to do. Fun fact. It's actually kind of funny. One thing I noticed a few. Oh, colonies are only 15-ish. Okay, cool. Alright, fair. I mean, I think they're just such ambiguous terms nowadays that it's like... but Liliana has quotes or is referenced in 3 lands. All 3 of them are Golgari lands, which I don't think it actually just means anything, but I think it's interesting that they're consistently the only land she's like has any references to is on Golgari ones. I know this because I'm currently in the midst of putting together a deck, which is a Liliana deck, which contains only cards besides basics that either mention Liliana, mention a member of her family, or mention one of her demon lords. So Razaketh, Belzenluck, Kolthbled, and Grizzlebrand. But it's like also I have like Joseph S and things like that. But otherwise it's just like everything she must be in the art or referenced in the art or referenced in the flavor text or something like that. So it's like a pure Lily deck because who is he? Air Bubbles on Twitter, Air Bubbles cosplay. She has a Chandra deck, which was the same thing where it's like everything's Chandra, and we played it again. Oh, sorry, missed your question, Mitch. First time on stream, I don't know how to play. How would you recommend the place get started? Yeah, I would recommend Arena. Arena is probably a good place to start out. That said, Arena, I don't know, part of me, the thing that I like most about Magic is the social aspect, and you just don't get that on Arena as much, where coming up soon, and like later, probably about a month from now, for the release of War of the Spark, is going to be something called, they have a Magic Open House, which a lot of the local game stores will host. And like you can look for ones, if you go onto the Wizards website, there's a store locator that can find a play store that has it. But the open house is a great time if you want to go in and learn the game. That said, most local game stores worth their salt are more than happy to like teach you the game if you like head in for like Friday Night Magic. Yeah. Once you actually have the handles on the basics though, the way that I got into the game was I actually just jumped right into drafting. If you're worried about like, oh, the money sink that like paper Magic is, which is a fair concern because paper Magic can be a lot, especially if you're like looking at like standard deck prices and stuff. But the way that I jumped in was early on after I like mastered like the basics of the game. Which you could do like on Arena, is that I just went to like my local game store and just drafted once a week. There's my proxied Scalding Tarn, because that's something. What are Tarns up to nowadays? Like they're like $100, right? Like it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts, and they're only going up after the Modern Horizons talk, like announcing that there's no going to be reprints, which is just insane. It's like Wizards needs to get these prices under control. Jeez, that is absurd for a land which a lot of decks need a full playset of. Like, goodness. Hope we get following. That would be interesting. Monocolor fetches with thing. Honestly, what I want is a. I don't expect it to come in Modern Horizons because it wouldn't have that much modern relevance, but enemy slow fetches. What was I saying? But I got into the game via draft, and you, depending on the store, obviously varies, but it's $15 a week, which is honestly, it's like my thing is like, okay, if like I'm just spending $15 a week, that's all I'm gonna spend, and it keeps it reasonable, it keeps it like manageable, and it lets you learn the game, but it's fun. There's no difference in starting position based on like budget, which is nice, which is always just gives you a bad feeling when you're new and you just get stomped by someone because they spent a few $100s on a tier 1 deck. But it's like you are starting on an even playing field from a budget perspective because it's obviously limited. It also just helps you build your collection and like figure out like what archetypes you want, because you experiment with a lot of different decks because you play a different deck every week, and it just helps you get a feel for what you like in the game and what you don't like. And also drafting is awesome. Alright, so I think I have shuffled the lands draft enough for now, and I'm just going to crack into drafting some more of the, or not drafting, but shuffling some more of the main cube, just because it could use a nice tossing to freshen its ingredients. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up now. Also, I didn't realize that you are in shot. I was not a fan of Guilds of Ravnica. I did like M19 though. I actually rather did like M19. But I was not a Guilds of Ravnica fan. But that said, I am really enjoying Ravnica Legions. Okay. Alright, just some main cube stuff. Should probably grab stuff from several of these boxes just to shuffle them together at once, especially this box because I've been putting a bunch of new stuff into this box and it hasn't gone shuffled into a lot of it. Like a lot of the new Guild Kit stuff. Like I love the Gruul set symbol Birds of Paradise. It's really cool. Yeah, they get balanced, but like, I don't know, I just hated getting forced into one of those two lanes. I hate that just like Golgari and Selesnya were just almost unplayable. Partially because I was better because Selesnya was so bad. Where it's like, if you didn't have the rare bombs in those colors, it just wasn't worth. There's been this guy just driving the loudest car in my neighborhood like every night for the last few weeks, and it's like, no. One of the things I'm really, really a sucker for, yeah, honestly, it wasn't even local to me. That was just across the board, where they're just like, it was fine, but just Dimir and Boros were just so overpowered. Like, even with everyone fighting over them, they were so much more powerful. Like, yeah, you could get together a theoretical good Golgari deck, or like an okay. The problem was, like, there was that theoretical, like, god Golgari deck that did just run away with the game, but required all the right pieces, and most of them were uncommons and rares. Thing is, the Selesnya deck just didn't have a good top end. Like, unless you happen to open a March of the Multitudes, it's just like, you have no big flashy flight. There was no could convoke finisher, which was just weird. One thing I am a complete sucker for, which is white counter spells. This is something I just recently added to the cube because I didn't realize I owned one. But it's an illumination that no one sees coming. It's white for an instant. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell. That spell's caster gains an amount of life equal to the spell's casting cost. That's an idea of special categories for people who play with similar resources. We are talking about magic like we are. I'm just shuffling my cube and kind of talking about things. Essentially, limited is essentially, it'll be a format where everyone starts in the same playing ground. So that is the format to play in the same resources, where it's, you don't bring a new deck, you don't bring a deck, you maybe bring sleeves, and you essentially, for like draft, which is the most common one, each person will get 3 packs, and you open the first pack, you choose one card from the pack, and you pass it to the next person. And you get a pack passed to you, and after you finish one, you open the next one, goes around the other way, you open the last one, you go the other way, and at the end you end up with about 45 cards, and then you take about 17 or 23 of those, you put in 17 lands, and you build a 40 card deck, at which point you usually play 3 to 4 rounds with. That is the actual event itself. And you get to keep the cards at the end, so you get like to expand your collection a little bit, and everyone's on more or less like the same level. What's your favorite card to build around in the cube? Easily, I mean, it's one of my favorite cards just in general, Panharmonicon. I love playing like 4-color enter the battlefield effects in this cube. Yeah, no, it's just Panharmonicon. Love it. If you're talking about second to Panharmonicon is the power move, which I've done once, which was pack 1, pick 1 Yargle, which I did once. I picked it over Soul Ring. I could have pack 1, pick 1 Soul Ring, which would have been the right choice, but I pack 1, picked 1 Yargle, Glutton of Urborg. You know, generally I like keep myself pretty open, because it's like, I don't know, I've drafted this deck a lot. I love that they reprinted Protean Hulk. I wanted a Protean Hulk for this cube, and the cool girl could have had one. Really cool. Yeah, no. Oh, the Guild kits were so good for Commander Cube. It was just such a good thing. Oh yeah, no, Yargle for days. Also Yargle for memes. I have a few meme cards in here. Like Yargle, by all means, should be in the Commanders of Shame. If you don't know, the Commanders of Shame of some decks, some commander cubes, you don't have to draft your commanders, where it's like you choose your commanders at the end. Mine isn't one of those, but you could come into a situation where you just don't end up drafting a commander for your colors, and you need to have a commander for your colors to like play your deck. But then, if you don't, then you get to delve into the Commanders of Shame, which are some of the worst commanders ever printed. They're really bad. They're over there. I don't have them out. Oops, sorry about that. And Yargle, by all means, should be in the Commanders of Shame, because he's just not good. But that's Lance Draft. But he's not, because means. Also, because it is a magic, like it's a magic set, Colossal Dreadmaw is also in the cube. Just so you know, it's there. It's ready to draft. You can draft your Colossal Dreadmaw. I know that meme's a bit stale, but since it hasn't been reprinted and its price is getting out of control, Wizards reprint Dreadmaw already. It's been like 6 months. TikTok. New Rakdos art. What was next? Oh, original Ixalan. Gotta do. They just gotta print them one more time so I can do like a nice video, which will be like Lily's top 5 Colossal Dreadmaws. Or here are the top 5 Colossal Dreadmaws for Commander Cube. Yeah, no, it's like Ultimate. There's like, what's more ultimate than a 6/6 with trample for 6? Like, honestly, I never am sad to have that in my deck. Like, I've tried making him work, but he just doesn't end up working all the time. But Mercil the Pretender, he's a really interesting commander, which like I just haven't made him able to work in Cube. And I might end up making a tail for him just because it does require some pieces. But he's Grixis. But when he enters the battlefield, you may exile an artifact or creature card from your hand or graveyard and put a cage counter on it. And he has all activated abilities of cards you own in exile, with cage counters on them. You may activate each of those abilities only once each turn. So, I don't know, he's really interesting, and he's really cool, but it's like, I don't really know a good way to make him work, if that makes sense. So good. It's Dovin Bond. This is old Dovin. I also have new Dovin in here somewhere. Actually, it was at the pre-release. I pulled a foil Dovin, but I've actually been moving away and actually trying to avoid foils in this cube, just because I find, at least with these sleeves, they really kind of dampen the art a bit too much for me, and it just kind of reduces the vibrance of the art. But yeah, I love the art for Nissa voice of Zendikar. It's just, that's such good art. It's so cool. I also just love Nissa. Oh. I'm not just looking at cards, I'm not even kidding. I need to get another Courser for Big Wet's Life Gain. I took out Big Wet's Life. I took out Courser and put for my lands deck that I put together, and then took apart shortly after. But yeah. And then it just ended up in this track because I took apart most of my decks to build this cube. Hey, it's Knights of Autumn. Actually need to get some more of you, because you actually are really good in my Abzan Life Gain deck. Because it's like, you know, like she is just a Rec Sage when you need it, but also in that deck, having the utility of like, if I need to proc all my Life Gain stuff at the same time, sounds really nice. No, I really need to actually improve the Life Gain theme in this cube. I love Life Gain. Life Gain's one of my favorite archetypes, but because I didn't take apart my Life Gain deck, this cube just didn't get as many of the Life Gain pieces. It's been slowly getting better, but I also really need to get a better counterspell in here. This is like probably like the worst counterspell printing. This is the white bordered 7th edition counterspell. But it's the only counterspell I own, so I just need to get a better one. Oh, goodness. It's Amara! Ooh, Slesnia, Spesnia, and all that jazz. Alright, about 10 minutes until I switch over to doing some reading. And I still have a lot of shuffling to do, but I figured, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm just going to chat with you all and get some shuffling done. Oh, alrighty. Oops. Underrated card. I don't see it enough, but Smothering Abomination. At least in my metas. But 4 mana 2/3 flying. At the beginning for upkeep, sacrifice a creature. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, not just with that, draw a card. Which is just like, so many decks just love that. And Journey to Eternity. I just absolutely love the frame for the Ixalan Fliplands. If you don't know, this frame was actually originally going to be the masterpieces for Ixalan before they scrapped the Ixalan masterpieces. But honestly, I just really like them as the flip lands where it's like, oh, here's this like really fancy land that like you unlock. And it really like it also just really helps the land stand out as being like, here is a very important land. Because I don't know, a lot of the times like I just like will miss like someone like just having like an herb org or something, because like, okay, new orb org of like the legendary frame is a bit more noticeable, but it's just easy to miss some of the like the fancy ones. Like things like the counterspell art is fine, but it's just nothing great. I kind of want to get for now I want to get the Jace counterspell because that thing looks awesome. Let me pull it up if you haven't seen it because it looks awesome. Okay, fun fact, if you want to get to Scryfall, do not go to the RuneScape wiki. That is not where you go. Yeah, I love that the counterspell tech has gotten to that point. But yeah, no, it's on original art for like the Jace, but like just with like the frame and everything. But I also really love, and what I originally want to get, but it is $66 at the moment, which is, where am I? I thought, oh nope, I didn't. Welcome to Lily fumbles around through her files to get this up on screen. That's not what I want you, yeah. I think it's this one. Nope, that's not the right screen. This one? Yeah, no, this counterspell. I just like love this frame and everything. It's just like so cool. But really what the art I want to get eventually for my cube is the invocation, because I'm actually a huge fan of the invocation like look of the cards. Like, I do agree with some criticisms of it, but if you've ever like seen the invocations in person, they're just gorgeous and awesome and amazing, and I love them. And I definitely agree that you need to stick to this, maybe some of the more simple ones, but this is just one of those ones where it's like the counter target spell is very visible, and you see just counter target spell and you know exactly what card that is. But I can't justify dropping $66 on an invocation counter spell. But yeah, you can go, oh no, no, that's the wrong one. No. That one, goodbye. Nope, wrong sum. Yeah. 30% on Horizons, that will get super expensive. Yeah, perhaps. I like invocations. Probably the ones that really like brutal text things. Yeah, no, it's like, honestly, it's like a lot of them, it's like, it's kind of one of those things where I really like the border, and I really like what the border did to it. It's also kind of why I didn't like, I honestly like them more than the borderless planeswalkers. Because, I don't know, for me, as because I do like a lot of graphic design and stuff, part of like what makes a Magic card is the border and all that. And like, for like a one-off altar for like a cool commander or something, I get it. But like, the border is just as much the part of the card as the art is, and the rest of the text and everything. And I just love what they did with the space and just like giving this effect of the card. And they just really hit that out of the park. Not to say like the full arts are like bad or anything, but just like I definitely just I'd rather them do something cool with the border than to just get rid of it. Even if that thing is kind of experimental. If that makes sense. Alright, I'm gonna start packing up this here, and we're going to switch gears into doing some reading. Ravager Worm, just so sweet. I had this in draft, and it was just like, oh yes, beautiful. Honestly, one of my favorite cards, Sakura Tribe Elder. I love ramping so much. And the cards are Japanese. I love me some Japanese cards. You know, I mean, I know a fair amount of Japanese, so it's like I don't actually mind Japanese cards, but it's just when you have a cube, it's like I'd love to like have them for like my own personal decks. But the problem with a cube though is you don't want to put foreign language cards in the cube just because it's one of those situations where it's like it's same thing with like textless cards, where it's like you want to make sure that like there's no confusion about what it is. Like I could see like a very iconic card, where it's like the new textless lightning bolt. Like when I get my hands on one of them, I'll probably put it in like that version of the cube, just because it's like one of those things where it's like everyone knows what lightning bolt does. You don't need to look up what lightning bolt does. But for like some other cards, I like, for the most part, like even something like more simple where it's like, even if like I'm super familiar with the card, I don't want to assume that everyone is. It's like, I know exactly what Serum Vision does. I know what the art of Serum Vision is. I don't want to put like a German Serum Visions in there because they're not going to know what it is. I actually only currently run one foreign language card in my decks just because I haven't picked up an English version of it, and that's what all the store had when I was there. And it's a German increasing devotion. Let me just pull up this thing because it's wildly like hard. Oh, nice. That's pretty sweet. I've never actually been to Japan myself. Despite studying it a lot. Yeah, no, okay, this isn't the best, thing, but, yeah, no, it's like, this is my copy of Increasing Devotion in my human stack, where it's just like, yes, I just like love the word for creature token. It's just like beautiful in German, but, yeah, I would not put this into a cube. I've seen those in like people's like vlogs. Oh look, it's me. Ooh, this is just a screen capture. Oh. Yeah, it's that's what it is. It's make 5/1/1 human tokens and then flashback big 10, which is really good in a human stack. Oh, flashing that back out, like flashing that back, like. The play back, I had a great like 2-turn play where it was like Increasing Devotion, Thalia's Lieutenant, put counters on all of them, turn circles back around to me, I flash back Increasing Devotions, put 10 counters on Thalia's Lieutenant, swing in with all those guys for like 20. Oh, it was nice. It was a nice few turns. Like that was like right after a board wipe. It's like, they don't expect you for like the turn after a board wipe to all of a sudden have like just all of a sudden have like 30 power back on your board. Alrighty. Well, it's about time to switch gears to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is my favorite book. Where were we? Here we are, chapter 6. I am going to be back in just a moment. I am going to go make some more tea. Let me put a message up for that so people know that I am not dead and in fact getting some tea. That is not what that says. Also, okay, you know what, I'm gonna just change my fonts because it does not like that font at all. Why doesn't it want me to be bigger? Okay, it's just gonna be blurry regardless. Okay, that's fine. That's also not what I want. Cool. I shall return in a moment. returned. Alrighty, well, I hope you have, if you're still here, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night, and good luck on the bus. Alrighty, pillow here, got some more tea all ready to go, and we're going to start continuing our reading of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Alrighty. Alright. Also, I haven't uploaded the last one. I haven't yet, but I'll probably try to upload that tomorrow. So, the last one will be up, and then hopefully this stream will be up later this week. Chapter 6.
Garble, barble, gargle, bull, 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 gargle, howl, garble, gurgle, bull, howl, gargle, gargle, howl, gargle, 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 bow, slurp, slurp. Should have a good time. Message repeats. This is your captain speaking. So stop whatever you're doing and pay attention. First of all, I see from our instruments that we have a couple of hitchhikers aboard. Hello, whoever you are. I just want to make it totally clear that you are not at all welcome. I worked hard to get where I am today, and I didn't become a captain of a Vogon constructor ship simply so I could turn into a taxi service for a load of degenerate freeloaders. I have sent out a search party, and as soon as they find you, I will put you off the ship. If you're very lucky, I might even read you some of my poetry first. Secondly, we are about to jump to hyperspace for the journey to Bernard's star. On arrival, we will stay in dock for a 72-hour refit, and no one's to leave the ship during that time. I repeat, all planetary leave is cancelled. I've just had an unhappy love affair, and I don't want to see why anyone else should have a good time. Message ends.
The noise stopped. Arthur discovered to his embarrassment that he was lying curled up in a small ball on the floor with his arms wrapped around his head. He smiled weakly. Charming man, he said. I wish I had a daughter so I could forbid her to marry one. You wouldn't need to, said Ford. They've got as much sex appeal as a road accident. No, don't move. Yet as Arthur began to uncurl himself. You better be prepared for the jump into hyperspace. It's unpleasantly like being drunk. What's so unpleasant about being drunk? You ask up a glass of water. Arthur thought about this. Ford, he asked.
Yeah?
What's this fish doing in my ear?
It's translating for you. It's a babel fish. Look it up in the book if you like.
He tossed over The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and then curled up himself into a fetal ball to prepare himself for the jump. At this moment, the bottom fell out of Arthur's mind. His eyes turned inside out. His feet began to leak out of the top of his head. The room folded flat around him, spun around and shifted out of existence, and then left him sliding in his own navel. They were passing through hyperspace. The Babel fish, said the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy quietly, is a small, yellow, and leech-like, and probably the oddest thing in the universe. It feeds on brainwave energy, and received not from its own carrier, but from those around it. It absorbs all unconscious mental frequencies from the brainwave energy to nourish itself with, and then it excretes into the mind of its carrier a telepathic matrix formed by combining the conscious thought frequencies with nerve signals picked up from the speech centers of the brain, which is it has supplied them. The practical upshoot of all this is that if you stick a Babel fish into your ear, you can instantly understand anything said to you in any form of language. The speech patterns you actually hear decode the brainwave matrix which has been fed into your brain by your Babel fish. Now, it is such a bizarrely improbable coincidence that anything so mind-bogglingly useful could evolve purely by chance that some thinkers have chosen to see it as a final and clinching proof to the non-existence of a god. The argument goes something like this. I refuse to prove that I exist, says God, for proof denies faith. and without faith I am nothing. But, says man, the Babelfish is a dead giveaway, isn't it? It could not have evolved by chance. It proves you a fence. So therefore, by your own arguments, you don't. QED. Oh dear, says God. I hadn't thought about that. And promptly vanishes in a puff of logic. That was easy, says man. For an encore goes on to prove that black is white, and he gets himself killed on the next zebra crossing. Most leading theologians claim that this argument is a load of dingo's kidneys, but that doesn't stop Oolong Kulufid from making a small fortune when he used it as the central theme of his best-selling book. Well, that wraps it up for God. Meanwhile, the poor Babelfish, by effectively removing all barriers to communication between different races and cultures, has caused more harm and bloodier wars than anything else in the history of creation. Arthur let out a small groan. He was horrified to discover that the kick through hyperspace hadn't killed him. He was now 6 light years from the place that Earth which would have been if it still existed. The Earth. Visions of it swam sickeningly through his nauseated mind. There was no way his imagination could feel the impact of the whole Earth having gone. It was too big. He prodded his feelings by thinking about his parents and his sisters. His sisters had gone. No reaction. He thought of all the people he had been close to. No reaction. Then he thought of a complete stranger he had been standing behind in the queue at the supermarket 2 days before, and felt a sudden stab. The supermarket was gone. Everyone in it was gone. Nelson's column had gone. Nelson's column had gone, and there would be no outcry, because there was no one left to make an outcry. From now on, Nelson's column only existed in his mind. England only existed in his mind. His mind, stuck here in a dinky, dank, smelly, steel-lined spaceship. A wave of claustrophobia closed in on him. England no longer existed. He got that. Somehow he got that. He tried again. America, he thought, has gone. He couldn't grasp it. He decided to start smaller again. New York has gone. No reaction. He never seriously believed it existed anyway. The dollar, he thought, has sunk forever. Slight tremor there. Every Bogart movie ever has been wiped, he thought to himself, and that gave him a nasty knock. McDonald's, he said, to himself, McDonald's, he thought. There was no longer any such thing as a McDonald's hamburger. He passed out. When he came to around a second later, he found he was sobbing for his mother. He jerked himself violently to his feet. Ford. Ford looked up from where he was sitting in a corner, humming to himself. He always found the actual traveling through space part of space travel rather tiring. Yeah, he said. If you're a researcher on this book thing and you were on Earth, you must have been gathering material on it. Well, I was able to extend the original entry bit, yes. Let me see what it says in this edition, then. I've got to see it. Yeah, okay. He passed it over again. Arthur grabbed hold of it and tried to stop his hands shaking. He pressed the inch sheet for the relevant page. The screen flashed and swirled into the page of print. Arthur stared at it. It doesn't have an entry, he burst out. Ford looked over his shoulders. Yes, it does. Look there. See at the bottom of the screen? Just above Eccentric Galambitus and the triple-breasted whore of Eroticon 6. Arthur followed Ford's finger and saw how it was pointing. For a moment, it still didn't register. And then his mind nearly blew up. What? Harmless? Is that all it's got to say? Harmless? One word? Ford shrugged. Well, there are 100 billion stars in the galaxy, and only a limited amount of space in the book's microprocessors, he said. And no one knew much about the Earth, of course. Well, for God's sake, I hope you managed to rectify that a bit. Oh, yes. Well, I managed to transmit a new entry off to the editor. I tried to trim it a bit, but it's still an improvement. What does it say now? Said Arthur. Mostly harmless, admitted Ford with a slightly embarrassed cough. Mostly harmless, shouted Arthur. What's that noise? It's me shouting, shouted Arthur. What's that? It's... No, shut up, said Ford. I think we're in trouble. You think we're in trouble. Outside the door was the clear of sounds, the marching footsteps. The Dinitras, whispered Arthur. No, those are steel-toed boots. There was a sharp rap on his door. Then who is it? Well, said Ford. Well, if you're lucky, it's just one of the Vogons come to throw us out into space. And if we're unlucky? If we're unlucky, said Ford grimly, the captain might be serious in his threat that he's going to read you some of his poetry first. Chapter 7. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, amazing best way to sleep. Please edit this as a standalone ASMR book reading, yay. I don't know if I'm going to edit to be its own standalone thing, but all these streams will be up on my channel. So if you just want to listen to the Hitchhiker's Guide parts, just go like an hour in, and that's every episode of it. It'll be just about right on the hour mark when it starts. So yeah. Chapter 7. Vogon poetry, of course, is the third worst in the universe. The second worst is that of the Azeroths of Krea. During recitation of by their poet master Grunthos the Flatulent of his poem Ode to a Small Lump of Green Putty I Found in My Armpit Once Midsummer's Morning, 4 of his audience died of internal hemorrhaging, and the president of the Mid-Galactic Arts Nobling Council survived by gnawing one of his own legs off. Grunthos is reported to have been disappointed by the poem's reception, was about to embark on a reading of his 12-book epic titled My Favorite Bath Time Gurgles, when his own major intestine, in a desperate attempt to save life and civilization, leapt straight up to his neck and throttled him and throttled his brain. The very worst poetry, of course, perished along with his creator, Paula Nancy Millstone Jennings of Greenbridge, Essex, England, in the destruction of the planet Earth. Prostronic Vogon Gelt smiled very slowly. This was not done so much for effect as because he was trying to remember the sequence of muscle movements. He had had a terribly therapeutic yell at his prisoners, who was now feeling quite relaxed and quite ready for a little callousness. The prisoners sat in poetry appreciation chairs, strapped in. Vogons suffered no illusions as to the regard their works were generally held in. Their early attempts at composition had been part of a bludgeoning insistence that they be accepted as properly evolved and cultivated race. But now the only thing that kept them going was sheer bloody-mindedness. The sweat stood out cold on Ford Prefect's brow, and slid around the electrodes strapped to his temples. They were attached to a battery of electrodes, a battery of electronic equipment, imagery intensifiers, rhythmic modulators, alliterative residulators, and simile dumpers, all designed to heighten the experience of the poem and to make sure not a single nuance of the poet's thought was lost. Arthur Dent sat and quivered. He had no idea what he was in for, but he knew he didn't like anything that had happened so far, and did not think that things were likely to change. The Vogon began to read, a fetid little passage of his own devising. Ob-frettled grip, he began. Spasms racked Ford's body. This was worse than he had ever been prepared for. Thy micrations are to me as purled gramble brotchets on a lurgid bee. Went Ford Prefect, wrenching his head back as lumps of pain thrumped through it. He could dimly see beside him Arthur lolling and rolling in his seat. He clenched his teeth. Group, I implore thee, continued the merciless Vogon, my fronting, turning rooms. His voice was rising to a horrible pitch of impassioned stridency. and hope swanning drangle thee with the crickling brindle wordles, or I will rend thee in the gobble-warts with my blubber clunchion. Ye see if I don't. Cried Ford Prefect, and threw one final spasm as the electronic enhancement to the last line caught him full blast across the temples. He went limp. Arthur lolled. Now, Earthlings, whirled the Vogon. He didn't know that Ford Prefect was in fact from a small planet somewhere in the vicinity of Beetlejuice, and wouldn't have cared if he had. I present you with a simple choice. Either die in the vacuum of space, or... He paused for melodramatic effect. Tell me how good you thought my poem was. He threw himself backwards into a huge leathery bat-shaped sheet and watched them. He did the smile again. Ford was rasping for breath. He rolled his dusty tongue round his parched mouth and moaned. Arthur said brightly, Actually, I quite liked it. Ford turned and gaped. Here was an approach that had quite simply not occurred to him. The Vogon raised a surprised eyebrow that effectively obscured his nose. It was therefore no bad thing. Oh, good, he whirred in considerable astonishment. Oh, yes, said Arthur. I thought some of the metaphysical imagery was particularly effective. Ford continued to stare at him, slowly organizing his thoughts around his totally new concept. Were they really going to be able to bare-face their way out of this? Yes, do continue, invited the Vogon. Oh, and interesting rhythmic devices, too, continued Arthur, which seemed to counterpoint he floundered. Ford leapt to his rescue, hazarding, to counterpoint the surrealism of the underlying metaphor of the floundered. He floundered too, but Arthur was ready again. The humanity of the vorganity. Oh, yes, vorganity. Sorry, of the poet's compassionate soul. Arthur felt he was on a home stretch now, which contrives through the medium of verse the verse structure to sublimate this, transcend that, and comes to term with the fundamental dichotomies dichotomies, that's that word, dichotomies of the other. He was reaching a triumphant crescendo, and one is left with a profound and vivid insight into a inner which suddenly gave out on him. Ford leaped in with the coup de grace. Into whatever the poem was all about, he yelled. Out of the corner of his mouth, well done, Arthur. That was really good. The Vogon pursued him. For a moment, his embittered racial soul had been touched, and he thought, not too little, too late. But he thought, no, too little, too late. His voice took on the quality of a cat snagging in a brushed lion. So you're saying is that I write poetry because underneath my mean, callous, heartless exterior, I just really want to be loved? He said. He paused. Is that right? Ford laughed a nervous laugh. Well, I mean, yes, he said. Don't we all, The Vogon stood up. No, well, you're completely wrong. He said, I just write poetry to throw my mean, callous exterior into sharp relief. I'm going to throw you off the ship anyway. Gods, take the prisoner to number 3 airlock and throw them out. What? Said Ford. A huge young Vogon guard stepped forward and yanked them out of their straps with his huge blubbery arms. You can't throw us out into space, yelled Ford. We were trying to write a book. Resistance is useless, shouted the Vogon guard back at him. It was the first praise he learned when he joined the Vogon Guard Corps. The captain wrenched in it with detached amusement and then turned away. Arthur stared round widely. I don't want to die now, he yelled. I still got a headache. I don't want to go to heaven with a headache. I'll be all crossed and wouldn't even enjoy it. Ah. The guard grasped them both firmly round the neck, and bowing deferentially towards the captain's back, hoisted them back, protesting, out of the bridge. A steel door closed, and the captain was on his own again. He hummed quietly and mused to himself, lightly fingering the notebook of his verses. He said. Counterpoint the surrealism of this underlying metaphor. He considered this for a moment, then closed the book with a grim smile. Death's too good for them. The long steel-lined corridor echoed to the feeble struggles of the two humanoids clamped firmly under the rubbery Vogon armpits. This is great, sputtered Arthur. This is really terrific. Let go of me, you brute. The Vogon guard dragged him on. Don't you worry, said Ford. I'll think of something. He didn't sound hopeful.
Resistance is useless,
bellowed the guard. Don't say things like that, stammered Ford. How can anyone maintain a positive mental attitude if you're saying things like that? My God, complained Arthur. You're talking about a positive mental attitude, and you haven't got your planet demolished today. I woke up this morning and thought I'd have a nice relaxed day, do a bit of reading, brush the dog, and now it's just after 4 in the afternoon, and I've already been thrown out of an alien spaceship 6 light years from the smoking remains of the Earth. He sputtered and gargled as the Vogon tightened his grip. All right, said Ford. Just stop panicking. Well, who said anything about panicking? Snapped Arthur. This is still just culture shock. You wait till I've settled down into the situation and found my bearings. Then I will start panicking. Arthur, you're getting hysterical. Shut up. Ford tried to desperately think, but it was interrupted by the guards shouting again. Resistance is useless. And you can shut up too as well, snapped Ford. Resistance is useless. Oh, give it a rest, said Ford. He twisted his head and was still looking straight into the captor's face. A thought struck him. Do you really enjoy this sort of thing? The Vogon stopped dead in his stead, and a look of immense stupidity seemed to seep slowly over his face. Enjoy? What do you mean? What I mean, said Ford, is it gives you a full, satisfying life, stomping around, shouting, pushing people out of spaceships. The Vogon stared up at the low steel ceiling, and his eyes almost rolled over each other. His mouth slacked. Finally he said, Well, the hours are good. It'd have to be, agreed Ford. Arthur twisted his head around to look at Ford. Ford, what are you doing? He asked in an amazed whisper. Oh, just trying to take interest in the world around me, okay? He said. So the hours are pretty good then, he resumed. The Vogon stared at him, sluggish thoughts moiled away in the murky depths. Yeah, he said. But now that you come to mention it, most of the actual minutes are pretty lousy. Except, he thought again, which required looking at the ceiling. Some of the shouting I quite like. He filled his lungs and bellowed, Resistance is... Sure, yes, interrupted Ford hurriedly. You're good at that, I can tell. But if it's mostly lousy, he said, slowly giving the words time to reach their mark, then why do you do it? What is it? The girls, the leather, the machismo, or just find that coming to terms with mindless tedium of it all presents an interesting challenge. Arthur looked backward and forward between them in bafflement. Said the guard. I don't know. I just kind of do it, really. My aunt said that spaceship guard was a good career for young Vogon. You know, the uniform, the low-slung stun rape holster, the mindless tedium. There you are, Arthur, said Ford, with an air of someone reaching the conclusion of their argument. You think you've got problems. Arthur rather thought he had. Apart from the unpleasant business with his home planet, the Vogon guard had half-throttled him already, and he didn't like the sound of being thrown into space very much. Try and understand his problems, said Ford. Here he is, poor lad. His entire life's work is stamping about, throwing people off spaceships. And shouting, added the guard. And shouting, sure, said Ford, patting the blubbery arm clamped around his neck in a friendly condescension. And he doesn't even know why he's doing it. Arthur agreed that this was very sad. He did this with a feeble gesture, because he was too asphyxiated to speak. Deep rumblings of bemusement came from the guard. Well, now, when you put it like that, I suppose. Good lad, encouraged Ford. But all right, went on rumblings. So what's the alternative? Well, said Ford, brightly but slowly. Stop doing it, of course. Tell them, he went on, that you're not going to do it anymore. He felt ought to add something to that. For the moment, the guard seemed to have his mind occupied on pondering that much. There's a lot of M's, said the guard. And, well, that actually doesn't sound that great to me. Ford suddenly felt the moment slipping away. No, wait a minute, he said. That's just a start, you see. Do you see there's more to that? You see... But at that moment, the guard seemed to renew his grip and continue his original purpose of lugging his prisoners to the airlock. He was obviously quite touched. No, I think if it's all the same to you, he said. I better get you both all shoved into this airlock, and then go and get on with some other bits of shouting I've got to do. It wasn't the same to Ford Prefect at all, in fact. Come now, but look, he said, less slowly, less brightly. Said Arthur, without any clear inflection. But hang on, pursued Ford. There's music and art and things to tell you about. Resistance is useless, bellowed the guard, and then added, You see, if I keep it up, I can eventually get promoted to senior shouting officer. There aren't usually many vacancies for non-shouting, non-pushing people about officers, so I think I better stick to what I know. They were now reached the airlock, a large circular steel hatchway of massive strength and weight that led into the inner skin of the craft. The guard operated massive control, and the hatchway swung smoothly open. But thanks for taking an interest, said the Vogon guard. Bye now. He flung Ford and Arthur through the hatchway into the small chamber within. Arthur lay panting for breath. Ford scrambled round and flung his shoulder uselessly against the reclosing hatchway. But listen, he said. There's a whole world you don't know anything about. Here, how about this? Desperately he grabbed for a bit of culture he knew offhand. He hummed a bit of first bar of Beethoven's Fifth. Except the faint distance hum of the engines. They were lost. They were friendly. They were in a brightly polished cylindrical chamber about 6 feet in diameter and about 10 feet long. Ford looked around it, panting. Potentially a bright lad, I thought, he said, and slumped against the curved wall. Arthur was still facing the curve of the floor where he had fallen. He didn't look up. He just lay panting. We're trapped now, aren't we? Yes, said Ford. We're trapped. Well, can't you think of anything? I thought you said you were going to think of something. Or you thought of something I didn't notice. Oh, yes, I thought of something, admitted Ford. Arthur looked up expectingly. But unfortunately, continued Ford, it rather involved us being on the other side of the airtight hatchway. He kicked the hatch they'd just been thrown through. But it was a good idea, right? Oh, yes, very neat. Oh, what was it? Well, I hadn't worked out the details yet. Not much point now, is there? So what happens next? Oh, well, the hatchway in front of us will open up automatically in a few moments, and we'll shoot out into the deep space. I expect and asphyxiate. If you take a lungful of air with you, you can last up for about 30 seconds, of course. said Ford. He stuck his hands behind his back, raised an eyebrow, and started to hum an old Beetlejuice battle hymn. To Arthur's eyes, he suddenly looked very alien. So there it is. We're going to die. Yes, said Ford. Except, no, wait a minute. He suddenly lunged across the chamber at something behind Arthur's line of vision. What's this switch? He cried. What? Where? Cried Arthur, twisting round.
No, I was only fooling, said Ford.
We're going to die after all. He slumped against the wall again and carried on the tune from where he left off. You know, said Arthur, it's at times like these, when I'm trapped in a Vogon airlock with a man from Beetlejuice about to die of asphyxiation in deep space, that I really wish I had listened to what my mother told me when I was young.
Well, why? What did she tell you?
I don't know. I didn't listen.
Oh,
said Ford, and he continued humming. This is terrific, Arthur thought to himself. Nelson's column has gone, McDonald's has gone, all that's left is me and the words mostly harmless. Any second now, all there will be left is mostly harmless. And yesterday, the planet seemed to be going very well. A motor whirred. A slight hiss spilled into the deafening roar of rushing air until the outer hatchway opened into an empty blackness, studded with tiny, impossibly bright points of light. Arthur and Ford popped into outer space like corks from a toy gun. I think that's where we're going to close up for tonight. Well, thank you to everyone who came by and hung out, and yeah, I hope you enjoy tonight, and I'm really enjoying doing these things, and yeah, if you want to catch the video for this will probably be up probably like Monday, but yeah, if you want to catch it live, it's going to be aiming for every Friday at 11 o'clock Pacific. That is 2 a.m. Eastern. I would do it earlier but just with how my house's scheduling is, it's a bit harder. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful night's sleep, and you'll have wonderful dreams, and as always, may your stories smile upon you.